I am very excited about the Nintendo Switch 2. Maybe that's not cool, in vogue, lit, worth a cheer, whatever the kids are calling it these days. But I played a lot of Game Boy as a kid. So there's always a special place in my heart, a very nostalgic, bonded place that I will always come back to Nintendo when they bring out something new. But that's not without any reason. I'm not doing this blindly. And clearly, with how many they sell, a lot of people feel the same way. But I just like how they run their company. I like that how their games are made. I like the vibe that they generally put out there. And I do want to talk about that today. I feel like it's been a while since we've got like really good, solid first party Nintendo games. That's the stuff that I want the most, right? I want their best teams making their best things, doing their best work, and playing those games. And it kind of feels like there was a rush of it during the first Switch's launch. Between like 2017 to 2020. You got your like Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, your Animal Crossings, your Mario Kart of the generation. And like you kind of just flood yourself with all this. And it's Nintendo, so they do the thing where they don't like to cheapen their products over time. So through the whole entire generation of the Switch 1, these games were just full price for the most part. If you get a sale, they're like 10, 20 bucks, but they're never more than that. Philosophically, that kind of makes sense, and it's like a double whammy. If you know that their games are never going to be on sale, then you're kind of more incentivized to buy it day one anyway, because there's no point waiting. Most games you can wait and there's a sale, but with Nintendo, you're like, well, they're going to be full price premium games anyway. And in your brain, you kind of think they're also just worth it. Mario Kart makes a disgusting amount of money. It's like billions of dollars. Just making a single player, simple product that goes to everybody. They just sell a lot of it because everybody can play that game. But I like that. I like how Nintendo games are made. And the way that they're designed is usually they focus on a single mechanic. They'll take something like, just shooting a gun, but it's ink instead. It's about jumping. It's about exploring and discovery. They'll take a really small idea and they'll blow it up into an entire game. And they'll use whatever licenses they have to fill in that role of what would make that fun, which I always really liked. I like that they think about their games as toys. The way that they market everything, it's really toy-like. One of the things that I really like about how they show off their games is that they never lie. They never show something crazy cinematic. Every time they show a game, they talk about it in this toy-like, cozy way, and then they just show the game. They let the game speak for itself. They never try to render it higher. They never try to run it on a different device. They take the footage that's captured directly from the Switch and they just put it on screen and say, that's what you're getting. And you could notice imperfections in them. You might notice a frame drop when the screen changes. You might notice things when you see it. But the whole time, they're like not lying to you. And it's like a principle that they have. With so many games only showing you cinematics or teasing little things, which they sometimes do. But whenever you see a game and gameplay, they show the game. All the jaggy edges, all the underpoweredness of the Switch right on screen. This is the game you are going to get exactly that. I've always appreciated that because you as a player, you can look at this and kind of make a really quick judgment as to whether that's for you or not. There's no extra info that you need to go find yourself because they're presenting it. And in like a time in the game industry where I feel like a lot of companies try to pull you in with teasing excitement, some like teases and kind of bullshotting, I think it's called, in a way to try to get you excited for something that isn't really real. It's refreshing to have a company so consistently just being like, yeah, that's the game. That's what it looks like. If you're into it, it's fine. If you're not, we're still making it. Even better. I think something that everyone is worried about that I think is really valid is the lack of heavy hitters that they saw in the announcement. And we don't know what's coming, right? Maybe I think they have a Nintendo Direct come April, and we might see a lot of crazy games come out, right? The only thing that we saw so far is like Mario Kart 9 with the new Donkey Kong, and they barely showed that, and people have been trying to read into so many little things there. But it's exciting that like, okay, we know we're going to get a new Mario Kart, of course, because billions. But are we going to get something like Breath of the Wild again? We might not. We don't know yet. That game was a transcendent experience. That, to me, was a game when I played it the first time, was like, I only get this kind of experience with a game probably a dozen times in my life. And that was one of those dozen. And they're not immune to budgets going higher and things costing more to make. They're mindful about it, but they're not immune. Prices go up for everybody, prices go up for them too. If they need more art, if there's an expectation for more AAA style games, then they have to meet those demands also, but in their own way. And I think a year ago, I remember them talking about a strategy of how they're spacing out their giant games by putting middle games, like little smaller double A games in the middle, but made by their main teams or made by a partnership with other developers. And I think that's a really smart move on their part. It's that they are aiming for North Star quality, triple A, big games that you'd happily pay super full price for. But at the same time, they scale down and work on smaller, simple ideas. Maybe it's a top down Zelda game, maybe it's more of a 2D game. And because they're Nintendo, they're still able to sell that at full price, possibly to a smaller audience, but that kind of makes up for it in itself while they're still building these big, giant pillar games that take probably 3 to 5 years. That's half a generation of a console, if not more. But it was kind of refreshing to hear that like they're getting ahead of this in their own way, and they're well equipped for it too, because their licenses tend to be kind of more cute anyway. There's a lot more room for them to do something a little bit more silly, to be a little bit more downscaled. They don't have to reach the stars all the time. Because we used to exist in a time where there was the big console and the little console, and you kind of got that mix, right? Now they've had to combine these two models together, which means that they can sell the little things for a little bit more. Because I remember 3DS games costing what? $30, $40, which I really liked. But now we live in a time where that all has scaled up. So now everything's kind of the same price. And I kind of let them get away with it. You know, it's Nintendo. They'll find a way to make it fun. And if it's fun, I'm there. I also really like Nintendo's philosophy of focusing on like known technology. That's like off the shelf parts. We'll make it work with what we got. Over the course of the Nintendo Switch's cycle, I really got a liking to low powered devices. Like, I have a Steam Deck, right? This thing is incredible. It's incredible to think that like this only maximum uses like what, 15 watts of power. I think it's the same for the Switch too. It's incredible what you can do with 15 watts of power compared to my PC, which is probably like 400, or a PlayStation 5, which probably gets up to like 350, 400 also. If you can still play the experience on something this small, or even dock it and put it on the TV, which I have in my living room, there's something cool about that. Because at the end of the day, sometimes it is just about the experience. This kind of device just serves a huge purpose in my life of like, I get to have the really big Kachanka crazy graphics setup, which is this, but I also get to play this on the go. And I also get to play this on my TV if I really want to. It's not the perfect, the most ideal way to play it, but the experience is seamless. The cloud syncing, the save, the being able to turn it off and on immediately, it's huge. It's a huge thing for me. I love rest mode. I love quick play. I like sleep functions, because a lot of times there are times where, especially in modern times, I just want to turn it off and be able to walk away. So it's been nice that we've really adapted this like quick start, quick stop kind of mentality. Because sometimes you're just busy, you need to stop. And if there's no save point, I want to be able to just turn it off, plug it in, and not worry about it. And so Nintendo being what Nintendo does, it takes the power that they do have and they keep the scale within this power. I don't know what a Nintendo trying to compete in power really looks like, and I don't think they're ever going to do that. They did that with the GameCube. It really messed them up, and they figured out that ultimately gameplay or experience was always king above everything else for most people. So they end up being able to do a lot more for a lot less. And of course, because they're using slightly older technology, that kind of scales up as they go. They're not stuck in the lowest power thing they could find, right? They're trying to find like a good use case between like parts that are easily accessible, but powerful enough to do our experiences. And then within that, they try to solve as many problems as they can along the way. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited there's a new Nintendo console coming out this year, because those seem rare now, and I just can't wait to try out all their new first party games. And I'm really hoping that direct coming out soon shows us a lot of the heavy hitters that we're hoping for, like maybe a new Animal Crossing, maybe a new Zelda, maybe a new 3D Mario. Those are like the top 3 dogs that I really want. And it's funny because people argue that like Xbox does the same thing with the same franchises, and people that diminishes the return over time. But I'm excited as heck for good first party games. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say today. Always down for a good video game. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.